My wife's inability to handle her periods is driving me nuts. As a guy, I've never experienced a period, so I can't fully grasp how it affects her mind and emotions. But every single month, she spends a week being difficult with me. She'll criticize everything I do, and it feels like there's no right way to do anything. It's always directed at me. For example, I'll make her hot coffee, and she'll say, "I don't like coffee hot." You don't know anything about me. But she does like hot coffee. The next day, I'll make cold coffee, and she'll respond, "Why would I want cold coffee in the morning?" It's like you don't think about what I want. Eventually, she'll hint that she'd be happier with someone who values her. Every month, it feels like she's suggesting divorce. The rest of the month, she's amazing. I love her so much, and she loves me too. She'll apologize later, saying it was just her period. But if I try to point it out during those moments, she gets really upset. I know I'll never understand what it's like to have a period, but after all these years, I wish she could recognize when it's the period talking and not her. I'm not going to leave her, but this has taken a toll on me. 3 weeks of the month, I'm affected by it. 1 week leading up to her period, I'm dreading it. During her period, I feel like I'm constantly being berated. And the week after, I'm just trying to recover. I haven't been responding to comments because I've been looking into what people have said about PTMD, hormones, and birth control. I plan to talk to her about making an appointment to see what a doctor recommends. But that's a conversation I'll have to wait until next week to have. Thank you for listening.
I think my wife just held up a mirror, and I'm not sure how to move forward with what I saw. I'm not even sure why I'm sharing this. Maybe it's because strangers feel safer than those who know me. Maybe I'm scared of what I'm feeling and don't want to burden the people I love. Earlier today, my wife sent me a long, gentle message about our communication lately. She wasn't attacking me or angry. She spoke calmly and with care, but her words hit me in a way I didn't expect. She mentioned that sometimes I come across as sharp, even when I don't mean to. She feels stuck because if she offers input during parenting moments, I get frustrated. But if she stays quiet, that frustrates me too. She said the kids sometimes go quiet around me, worried about saying the wrong thing. It hurts her when I seem irritated or defensive when she's just trying to talk. Seeing those words laid out like that made something inside me drop. Like a truth I've been avoiding finally stepped forward. The truth is, I've been struggling. More than I realized, or maybe more than I wanted to admit. I've been carrying a mix of grief, stress, and an old aching fear I've never learned to voice. I grew up without a father. My mom worked tirelessly to raise me and my twin. I learned early that the safest way to survive was to handle everything alone, to not need help, to not be a burden. Now, I'm a husband, a dad, a man trying to build the family I never had. But when life gets heavy, something in me changes. I become rigid, sharp, and closed off. It's like a version of me takes over, a defensive, fiery version. Almost like the Ghost Rider, and that's not just a dramatic comparison. It's the image that came to mind when I read her message and reflected on my actions. In the movie, he's still himself, but there's this fire that overtakes him under pressure or pain. That's how I feel sometimes, like a burning defensive version of me steps in when I'm overwhelmed, and I don't fully control it. I don't want to live like that. I don't want my family to feel it. They deserve better. They deserve the softness and warmth I know I have when I'm not drowning in echoes of abandonment, pressure, and self-doubt. But I don't know how to break the pattern. I don't know how to stop reacting from fear before I even realize that's what's happening. Now that my wife has gently pointed it out, I can't unsee it. Part of me feels ashamed. Part of me feels scared. And part of me feels lost because I don't know how to start fixing something I don't fully understand. I want to communicate better. I want to be gentler. I want to be someone my kids aren't afraid to talk to, and someone my wife feels safe approaching instead of tiptoeing around. I just don't know how to move forward without feeling like I'm failing at being a husband and a father. Exactly the roles I've always been terrified I'd mess up. If anyone has been through something like this, or has advice on how to start shifting these deeper patterns, I would genuinely appreciate hearing it. I'm not looking for attacks. No one is harder on me than I already am. I'm seeking real guidance from those who've unlearned old survival modes. I love my family. I want to be better for them. I just don't want to lose myself, or them, to a fire I never learned to control. My family found out that I had a baby 3 months ago, and Christmas is kind of ruined. I'm sure you can infer from the title that I'm not really close with most of my family. I was born out of wedlock, which was such a big deal to my father's family that they barely acknowledged I existed. I'm indifferent to our lack of relationship. My mother raised me, so to me, most of those people are just strangers I share some DNA with. My dad has a brother I'm close to. He was the only one in the family who played a role in my life. I never really saw my dad, but my uncle always had time for me. Even after he got married and had kids, I never felt like I didn't matter to him. He came to my graduations, helped pay for my mom's funeral, and walked me down the aisle. He's more of a father to me than my biological dad ever was. So naturally, he and my aunt were the only ones I told about my pregnancy. I asked him not to share the news because I didn't want them to rain on my parade. I'm still pretty young, and given how judgmental my dad's family was about my wedding, I knew they would have criticized me for being pregnant at 23. I thought I might tell them eventually, but it was so nice to prepare to be a mom without other people breathing down my neck that I kept putting it off. I ended up going into labor a little early, which was already hard. Now I'm struggling with postpartum depression. Between my baby being in the NICU and dealing with everything else emotionally, I just didn't tell them. My baby has been home from the NICU for a little while now, and my husband's mom made a celebratory post about her arrival, which one of my father's relatives unfortunately saw. To say that my phone has been blowing up would be an understatement. I've had people who haven't spoken to me since I was 12 call me to criticize me for not telling my dad that he's a grandpa. I'm being accused of ruining my father's, and by extension, his wife and kids' Christmas by withholding this news. I'm being called heartless, selfish, inconsiderate, you name it. My husband thinks I'm unbothered by what's going on since issues with my father's family don't typically bother me. But it's harder to ignore this time. I feel like my daughter's first Christmas is going to be tainted by my feelings of guilt and sadness. It's starting to make me feel like a terrible mom. I don't know if that makes any sense though. Sorry for the ramble. I just had to tell someone about this because I really don't want to make my husband worry. I'm realizing I have an unhealthy fixation on my manager. I'm 17, and tonight as I sit here, I'm starting to see how troubling my thoughts really are. I've known for a while that my feelings for my manager were unusual, but I didn't grasp the extent until now. Since starting this job 2.5 months ago, I can't seem to stop thinking about him. He calls me dear and honey, and he's always so kind. He speaks to me in a way that feels condescending. Not in a hurtful way, but like I'm a child. When I need to talk to him, he leans in close to hear me better. On my first day, the woman training me said I was cute, and he agreed, comparing me to those stuffed animals with the sparkly eyes. I know he would never see me that way. He's 35, married, and has a 14-year-old child. Yet I can't help but think about him constantly when I'm not at work. I imagine him sitting next to me, talking to me, and I find myself drawn to how he looks from behind, the way his clothes fit, and the way his hands move. His birthday was in November, and I wanted to bake him cookies. I had 4 recipes planned, but when the day came, things went wrong. One batch turned out poorly, and another didn't taste right. I ran out of time and had to leave with just the best cookies. But when I arrived, I panicked. I couldn't bear the thought of giving him mediocre cookies for his birthday. I sat in my car, feeling overwhelmed and late, and I couldn't bring myself to go in with those cookies. I drove to a nearby park where it was dark and empty. I cried the whole way, feeling lost. In that moment, I convinced myself that I couldn't face him again, and I started writing a note to my family. I thought about waiting for a train to come by, since the station was close. I know I wasn't serious about it. I'm still here, after all. Now, I'm sitting in my car, parked outside my workplace, even though I'm off tonight, just because I like knowing he's inside. Am I a stalker? What is wrong with me? I realize how strange this all is, and I know I need to stop. I just had to get this off my chest. Sorry if this sounds odd, I'm just trying to make sense of it all.
I lied on my resume and now I'm trapped in my own success. I got hired for a job I genuinely wanted, and I've been doing it for a few months now. I should be happy, but instead I feel like I'm walking around with a flashing sign that says fraud. The confession part is simple. I lied on my resume. Not just a little white lie, but I stretched my experience in a way that got me through screening and into interviews. I know it was wrong. I was stuck in a loop of applying, getting rejected, and applying again. I kept hearing, we need someone who's already done X. But how can you get X without someone letting you do X? So I changed a few lines. I took a project I helped with and made it sound like I led it. I bumped my title on one previous role. Not wildly different, but enough to look like a step up. I even listed a tool as proficient when I'd only used it in a tutorial and a couple of small tasks. In my mind, I was just translating what I could do into the language employers want to see. But I know I crossed a line. The worst part is, it worked. I got hired. The team is actually nice. My manager is supportive, gives clear feedback, and doesn't humiliate anyone. The pay is the first time in my life I felt like I can breathe. I'm not rich, but I can buy groceries without calculating every item. And I can say yes to a friend inviting me out without panicking. I don't want to lose that, but I also don't want to keep lying. I keep thinking, okay, I'll prove myself, and it'll even out, and then the lie won't matter anymore. But that's not how integrity works. I know. Day to day, I'm doing fine. I ask questions, I take notes, and I stay late sometimes. I've been quietly learning the stuff I claimed I knew. I watch videos at night, read documentation on weekends, and practice on a dummy account. Every meeting. I'm terrified someone will ask something basic and I'll freeze. If I do answer correctly, I still feel sick because it's like I'm wearing someone else's ID and getting away with it. There are moments when my manager says, "Great work on that," and I feel this sharp guilt, like I'm stealing praise. I'm also scared of the practical consequences. If this ever comes out, I'm not just embarrassed. I'm fired, maybe even blacklisted. I'm the kind of person who used to return an extra $1 if a cashier gave me too much change. So I don't even recognize myself here. The pressure got to me and I did something I never thought I'd do. I've even started deleting old messages and being careful about what I write down because I'm afraid of leaving a trail. It feels gross and paranoid, and it makes me feel worse. I don't know what I'm asking for because I know the right answer is don't lie. I know. I already did it. I just needed to say it somewhere because I can't tell anyone in real life. My friends would judge me, my family would freak out, and I can't risk my job. I feel guilty even typing this, but also relieved. I keep thinking about the person who maybe got rejected because I took a spot I didn't deserve. And I keep thinking about how one background check or one call to an old coworker could blow up my life. I hate that I'm in this situation, and I hate that I put myself here. I had to tell someone about my homelessness, and I'm so embarrassed. I'm a 25-year-old woman, and I've been homeless for about 6 months now. I've hidden it so well, but I don't know why it's been so hard to get approved for a room or a new place. For a while, I lived in my car, showering at the gym, and juggling 2 jobs made it easy to keep up the facade. But then I lost my second job when the shop closed down. My full-time job is waitressing. Over a year ago, a guy started coming in regularly after work for a beer. We became friends, bonding over our shared love of history. We hung out and went to a few movies, but I never let him get too close. I even lied and told him I had my own apartment. Last night, a terrible snowstorm hit. When he walked in, I was shocked. He came because I had mentioned my fear of driving in the snow, wanting to help me get home. I insisted I would dig out my car and find a way. But panic set in because I didn't have anywhere for him to drop me off. In that moment, I had to say it out loud. I live in my car. The embarrassment was overwhelming, and I felt like I wanted to disappear. He offered me his spare bedroom for the night, but I couldn't sleep at all. I lay there, feeling a tight pain in my chest from the shame. I cried silently until about 4 a.m. and woke up at 6, my eyes swollen and red. Now, we're about to get coffee. And he's even taking me to get my car before he heads to work. He owns a business and a house, which makes this even more humiliating. When I woke up, I felt like how my friends describe feeling after a night of bad choices. I don't drink, but now I understand that feeling all too well. I never wanted to be a burden on a friend like this. I was genuinely trying to find a place and fix my finances, but the lying only made things worse. As I prepare to face him, it's clear I've been crying all night. As someone who has never cried in front of anyone, I feel utterly sick.
My foster family is putting me in respite care over Christmas. This is my first Christmas without either of my real parents. And now the foster family I've grown to like is sending me off to stay with a stranger. Instead of just letting me join them for their family gatherings, they decided it would be better for me to be away. I've been reading up on respite care, and I know it's sometimes normal, but this is my first long-term experience in foster care. I really don't think I'm that difficult to take along. They care for me every other day, and it's not like I've been planning to cause any trouble. I met the person I'll be staying with, and she seems nice enough, but this whole situation feels upsetting and embarrassing. They told me it would be busy and loud, and since I don't enjoy that, they thought it best for me to spend the holidays somewhere quieter. But after talking with my foster siblings, I suspect the real reason is that part of their family is very religious, and my own past with that has made me uneasy. I understand their perspective, but it still hurts that they didn't ask me. They just assumed I wouldn't want to go. I don't want anyone to feel sorry for me, though. I've figured some things out, and it's been approved by everyone involved, including my social worker. I have one friend whose family I can hang out with on Christmas Eve, and another friend is letting me join their Christmas dinner, since the person I'm staying with doesn't celebrate. Plus, the woman I'm staying with is actually pretty cool. She's a hairdresser, and she's going to put some highlights in my hair and do some fun, girly things that my foster mom isn't great at. It's exciting for me. Some of you suggested it might actually be better, and I thought you were crazy, but maybe you were right. I'm having fun so far, at least. I cheated on my husband, and I do not regret it at all. I got married at 20 to an amazing man. At the time, I thought he was perfect, no red flags whatsoever. A month after our wedding, he went on his first military deployment. While he was away, we talked about starting a family as soon as he returned. So when he came back, all got pregnant quickly. But when he returned, he was a completely different person. My first sign of this change came when I shared the news of my pregnancy. I expected joy, but instead, he pretended to hug me and then slam me down. He even called my dad to tell him what he had done. I endured this for 2 more years. My breaking point came when he choked me until I lost consciousness while I was breastfeeding our daughter. All because I said good morning while he was playing a game. When I came to, I called the police and my parents to pick me up. I stayed away for 3 years, but returned after my dad passed away, thinking he had changed. I was wrong. He quickly reverted to his old ways, and I attempted to leave multiple times without success. He was a narcissist, and I had undiagnosed BPD. I realized I needed someone new to help me break free, so I started dating my high school sweetheart. We fell in love again, and he helped me leave my abusive ex-husband. Then, my high school sweetheart died suddenly. It felt like either karma or a cruel twist of fate. But by then, I had already left my ex, and that decision saved my life. I had faced multiple brushes with death, the last being when my ex choked me in front of our 2 children, threatening them with foster care if he killed me. So yes, Cheating is wrong in general, but I did it and I don't regret it. It's the reason I'm alive. My ex did catch me cheating, and he cried. I felt no remorse. I wanted to laugh. But I held it in because I feared for my life.
I gave a man's widow his last words. I heard the crash outside my house and rushed to help. The whole street came alive, ready to assist. It was a motorcycle accident. A man had sped around a turn too quickly and collided with an oncoming vehicle. When I arrived, he was unconscious, struggling to breathe. Another neighbor, an ICU nurse, was already there, holding his head steady while her husband checked for injuries. I took his hand, trying to keep him calm. He looked terrified, and through his pain, he told me someone needed to tell his wife he loved her. His name was Chris. I reassured him, urging him to focus on breathing and staying still. When the paramedics arrived, he gripped my hand tightly, pleading with fear. I looked back as I walked away, and they began compressions. I stayed there until they stopped. The next day, passing that spot was heavy. Later, I saw people taking pictures, and I stopped to ask if they were investigators. A man told me his son had died there the night before. I pulled over and approached his wife, who was sitting on the tailgate. As soon as I spoke, she hugged me tightly. I shared Chris's last message, that he loved her. She crumpled in my arms, a perfect stranger leaning into me as she cried. I told her how quickly everyone had come to help and how the other family was okay. I focused on keeping her upright, preventing her from collapsing onto the road. His father arrived to clear the wreckage. I noticed they had taken the shirt they had cut off him, the same one I had seen every time I drove by that day. I couldn't stop staring at his father. It was the same face, the same eyes I had seen that night. I stole thousands from my employer and got away with it. Back in 2005, I worked for a company that sold a little bit of everything, both in-store and online. My role as a shift manager involved handling returns, especially those from online purchases. A key part of the returns process was that any item priced at £10 or less, if opened, was simply written off as waste. It didn't require a physical receipt, just my confirmation that it was one of our products. At that time, refunds could only be issued in-store, either back to the original payment card or in cash. That's when I found my opportunity. I began processing returns for items that didn't exist. I knew that the discarded returns were sent to the distribution center and never truly counted. So, stock counts were always off. I kept it small, only about £30 a day. But over 3 years, I managed to take around £17,000 to £18,000 in cash. I used it for everyday expenses and saved a little too. When I left, I was able to put a deposit on a house, something I wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. Do I feel guilty? Not at all. Would I do it again? No, mainly because I know there's no way I could get away with it now. I don't feel sorry for companies struggling with employee theft. They often create the conditions that allow it to happen. In my experience, theft stems from employee dissatisfaction or low wages. Companies typically respond by tightening procedures instead of addressing the root causes. Why are your employees stealing? What can you do to change that? Raise wages, improve working conditions, enhance management skills? Whenever I hear of a company facing theft issues, I can't help but think they must be a terrible place to work, and I have no sympathy for them. My husband had me blow him during my labor at the hospital and told me it was for me more than for him. As the birth of our second daughter approaches, I can't help but replay the memories of my firstborn's arrival. I was induced due to a serious condition, enduring days of discomfort with various procedures until my water finally broke. After a failed epidural and a second attempt, I was told a C-section would be necessary. The baby was in distress, and the situation felt incredibly traumatic. But what haunts me most is how, after days of not eating and enduring painful contractions, my husband coerced me into something I now deeply regret. I was in so much pain, and he said it would help distract me. He acted as if it was a gift to me, praising me for it. I thought I was being a good wife, but now it feels so wrong. I feel sick about it, and I can't shake this unsettling feeling. Last month, I served him divorce papers, seeking full custody of our children. He only gets supervised visits due to his struggles with alcohol. I'm also pursuing exclusive possession of our home and a restraining order. I never expected my story to resonate with so many. I'm grateful for the support and the eye-opening comments I've received. It's comforting to know I'm not alone in this. Thank you to everyone who has reached out with kindness. It has truly validated my feelings.